you're going to be coming to Paris soon, make sure you stay for at least a week to give yourself enough time to get out of Paris and come out to what Parisians call the 21st arrondissement. This is Normandy, an amazingly rich area full of history and culture and delicious food and agricultural heritage. There's something for everyone here in Normandy. If you're Canadian, this port of Honfleur is the place that Samuel de Champlain began his expeditions to cross the Atlantic to discover Canada and Quebec in 1603. If you're a foodie, there's something for you here too. This is the land of Camembert fromage and Pont de l'Evêque. Seafood is varied and always fresh. If you like your spirits, this is the land of Calvados, the delicious apple brandy cultivated in this area.
Food in Normandy is delicious, but you don't want to eat too much or else you won't be able to fit through the narrow streets. Here we are trying some fresh apple juice and apple cider that is produced locally here in Normandy. Normandy has they call it the terroir, which is the ground, the soil that is really good for growing apples. So you'll find lots of apple products around this area, such as Calvados, apple brandy, apple cider, apple in tarts and everywhere. So it's very good.
That's some good cider. Behind me you see the church of Honfleur, which is called Saint Catherine, or in French, Sainte Catherine. You can see that it's quite different from most churches. It's not made of stone. It's made of wood, in the half-timber style very popular in Normandy. This was a shipbuilding community, so they had a lot of woodworkers. Inside the church, the ceiling actually looks like an upside-down boat. One thing about a wooden church, though, it's not quite as strong as stone, so it's hard to build a spire or a clock tower on it. So they solved the problem by building it right across the street.
On beautiful days, it's very common to see painters set up, like this one, trying to capture the magical light of Honfleur. They say that this is where Impressionism started. Has anyone heard of Monet?
Now that we have visited Honfleur, tried some of its delicacies, and seen some of its sights, now we're going to go see Rouen and Petit beaches. Finally made it to Rouen. We're standing in the central square that forever made its mark on history as being the place where France burned one of its most important historical figures, Joan of Arc.
Honfleur isn't the only town famous for Impressionism. Behind me is the Cathedral of Rouen, where Monet painted a series of paintings of this cathedral at various times during the day. History is fun, but you always have to make time for shopping too.
If you're a history buff, Normandy has found its place in the history books as a location of the D-Day landings, the important turning point in World War II. Juno Beach, Sword Beach, Omaha Beach, the important battles where the United States, Canadian, and British forces first got their foothold in Europe as they retook Paris from the Nazi occupation. Important battles were fought here, and history will forever remember the contribution of those soldiers in this area. Here we are in Juno Beach, one of the most important landing places from D-Day on the Normandy coast. Behind me you see one of the obstacles the Germans placed on the beach to make it more difficult, because they were here for 2 years prior to the landings on D-Day, and they had plenty of time to prepare the defenses. That is one of the reasons the battle took such a heavy toll of lives. These are called tetrahedrons, and they placed these on the beach to make it difficult for tanks to land and for soldiers to march up, and they were also very difficult to hide behind. No matter what angle, they offered very little protection to the soldiers trying to make it up onto the beach.
We're lucky enough to see some of the remaining German bunkers that were placed here in anticipation of the D-Day landings. Assuming that any of the soldiers were able to get up the beach despite the heavy fire, and to try to take this bunker from the Germans, maybe what they would have used is a grenade, throwing it in through one of the ventilation holes. Oops.
Behind me is the town of Arromanches, one of the important towns in the D-Day invasion. Here and right behind me, you can see what's left of Fort Winston, which was a temporary fort that was built so that they could unload supplies during the invasion.
We hope you've enjoyed this quick look at Normandy. Located just an hour and a half outside of Paris, it's definitely worth the day trip. Au revoir!